Hi, I'm Petra Monaco from the Rebels Den, and with me I have Dajon, who I absolutely adore. She's a veteran, a military sexual trauma advocate, multi-passionate life and business coach, graphics design, branding ninja, speaker, and workshop facilitator, all the things. Hi.
Hi. You know what I love about that is usually I've been going to these networking events and usually everybody wants you to just give one little title,
Yep.
this is who I am. And so what I love about this is that you're like, she's all the things.
Well, it's simply because when I'm asked what I do, I tell them I do what I want. And people get this really confused look on their face going, what the heck does that even mean? And then I get to tell them what I do, right? Like it's sort of the break the pattern, disrupt thing, because that's what I like to do. You're here with me today because as a multi-passionate and creative, graphics design is a thing, branding, it plays a huge part of that. So I want to talk about that, where you find your inspiration, but you're also a veteran who has military sexual trauma, and you advocate for that. And I would love to talk about that a little bit as well, because the Rebels Den addresses these issues on purpose.
Yes, I love it.
So tell us about your work.
All right. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I actually, in the military, I was in the Army for 13 years and I was a graphic designer and I did photography and all that in the military, which is really cool because there's not a lot of creative work in the military. And then when I ended up actually getting out because I was struggling with PTSD due to military sexual trauma. And so I was in for 13 years and after 20, you get a full on retirement, and people were like, why didn't you just suck it up and do another 7 years? And I was like a shell of myself. I would sit in my car in the parking lot and just cry. I would be told that I needed to smile more. And interestingly enough, I'm a pretty I don't know, but I had a website at the time named Dajon Smiles. That was my nickname because of my smile. But here I was in a situation just kind of rotting away. And so then when I came out of the military, it was like, well, what do I do? And I couldn't imagine going and getting a typical 9-to-5 job. I could have taken that graphic skill set and gone to a firm, but I couldn't do it. And so I'm like, well, I got to figure out then how to make something out of this. And what I realized there's a lot of people like you and I out there that need help with their marketing and branding and that are doing amazing work in the world. And I was like, those are the people I want to help illuminate. I want to help them rise up. And so that our communities can be represented by these amazing people doing great things in the world.
Yeah, I really love that. And you and I connected, 2 or 3 years ago, I think. And just watching from the side, we don't talk every day or anything, but I watch you and I know what it was like then. And I know what you're doing now. And I know the struggle you've been through. I don't know what I do, but I'm going to figure it out. And oh my God, I still don't know what I do. And then all of a sudden, you're all the things because you decided, similar to me, screw it. We're just going to do all the things because, right, we're bored. For me, that's I can't do the same thing for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, because I will get bored out of my mind.
Totally. I'm with you.
Sleep.
A struggle with getting a 9-to-5 was I felt it just totally turns your creativity off when you've got to wake up at 7 a.m. and make the coffee and get to work. So even had I went and got a job like that, I don't think that I would have been the best version of me because I would have just been my fire would have been stamped out.
I think as I reflect on it, for me, it was it was great, amazing work, but there was something definitely dying, as we would like to refer to it.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, because you have that trauma in PTSD, and we connect in that as well, there's going to be some shit days.
Yeah.
We get triggered, we have these thoughts, we wake up in the middle of the night, right? Any kinds of things. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about the train that hits you, and then how do you get out of the track?
Yeah. It's interesting because it's there's these times where I'm feeling really good and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to this event. I'm going to sign up for this event with all these fellow entrepreneurs, or I'm going to set up a coffee chat and then you wake up and you're just not feeling it. Or sometimes when I'm feeling really good, I set up, client meetings and kind of overwhelmingly. And so what I found is that I have to give myself a lot of spaciousness. I can't schedule tons and tons of things. And it's not that I like, it's interesting because it doesn't take a full calendar for me to be productive. And I think that like, that was a weird translation. Like, I'm like, oh, I got to have the client meeting. Sorry. I've got to have the client
My
meeting.
dogs are barking and I'm wondering if your dog is hearing my dog.
Hey, I'm over here.
Dogs have something to say too.
They're like, we help too. Yeah. And that's one of the things too, I think that's been helpful, is knowing like what I need. Like, so part of it was like getting a dog even, but my nutrition and my daily rituals have become key for me. So it doesn't really matter how many meetings I'm lining up or how many networking events and all that stuff, like, is irrelevant if I'm not really taking care of myself. And so it's having the daily, like I said, the daily rituals for me, moving my body, like taking my dog out for a walk. If I do those things, I tend to not like spiral down as much when I do hit a dark patch. And then like all of those little self-care things, like people talk, and it sounds like corny and shit, but it's like having the salt baths and going to yoga. Like, and I don't think that yoga's for everybody, but for me, I found the things that work for me and help keep me like standing up straight. And then I told you before we came on this, like I had a rough night last night. I was up just crying, and I let myself have that, like that time just to be like, this fucking sucks, versus myself for being like, oh God, like I've got this thing I'm doing tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, like this needs to come out.
Oh, absolutely. I think we tend to hold back and hold in because, I mean, let's be real, women are considered to be weaker, which is bullshit. But I'm just saying that if we show that emotion, if we are that honest and transparent about whatever we're going through, we're looked upon less than. And I'm not women primarily, but and also men go through the same thing. And I sort of cater to both. So I want to make sure that men understand that we're not dogging you here. We all go through that when you have any kind of trauma. The thing is, I think in my experience and in this entrepreneurial world too, that a lot of entrepreneurs have trauma, and the creativeness that we do in our business, whatever business you're in, whether you're being a life coach, whether you're a business coach or an artist or a blogger, whatever, that creativity actually keeps us grounded.
Yeah.
Right? It keeps us like centered and grounded.
That. And what I like about that is I noticed that my business would kind of tank when I wasn't making space just to create, like for the idea of creating, not creating to sell something or, oh, I have this idea that I put on the market, but just like making something just to make it without an ulterior motive.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. I've talked to musicians, and it's a business for them. Like being in a band and getting those gigs, it's all a business. It's all creativity coming into their world. And there is that we have to have that space and create for fun and not for money. I mean, I love making money. Let's all be, we like making money. So that's not even a thing. But we have to create for self. Yeah. The fact that my end product is probably going for sale is almost like secondary to me half the time.
Totally. Because if you're creating like, and you're not letting, like, for me, it's knowing that like, I'm in this human body, I'm on this earth, but I know that there's things that I'm channeling and things coming through me when I'm creating. And if I don't create that space for it and I'm constantly in my head, I feel like it's blocking it. And then you're creating and it's not fun. And that energetically transitions over into other areas of your life, including the stuff that you're creating.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so with you on that. So talk about your graphics design. Where do you get your inspiration? What's your, you don't have to give all the secrets, but what's your process on the whole designing piece?
It's fun for me to work, and and this is another really cool thing about like being in what I'm doing for like 3 years and just letting myself do all the things, is because I've gotten really clear on like who I like to work with and how I best work. And so I give myself, once again, a lot of space. And then I work with people who are freaking ready, because this is the thing. I could create a logo for a lot of different people. I could create a brand, but like, it doesn't, it's not going to translate and call in like their ideal people if they're not in the right flow or the right space. And so I'm really like, I think it's really good for me to be ethical about it and be like, yeah, I could design this logo and take this person's money, but like they shouldn't really be spending $1,000 on a branding package right now, or let me like create something really simple for them to get their like wings and get out into the world and figure out who they are, and then come to me when they're ready for like the big thing, right? And so I think that for me, the process is knowing the, you know, the people that I'm working with and interviewing them and making sure that we're a really good fit for each other. And then what's cool is I have fun with it. So like I had this one person I was designing for, and I woke up in the morning and I was like, what energy do I want to feel today? Like working on her project. And I kept feeling like ocean. I live in Minnesota, so there's no ocean, but I went to a lake and I sat at a coffee shop by a lake, and I had like oceany music on, and a lot of the stuff that came through for her stuff, it wasn't like we were directly creating like an ocean logo, but the flow and the color schemes and everything started like pouring through me at that point. And instead of me trying to like figure it out, it's just me feeling into her energetically. And what was cool about it is I also, when I work on people's stuff, is I tell them, I'm working on your things today. So if you have anything like good, even just good vibes, but if something comes to you, send it my way or whatever. And so it's really like a co-creation, and we're in it together. Transversely, I've had it the other way where I'm trying to work on somebody's stuff and I'm just blocked, and I send them a message and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm at my day job and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, and I'm like, okay, well, let's come back to this then, you know, because I can feel it energetically.
Yeah, I think you have a point. Like, because I'm always looking at my wood pieces going, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because, you know, because it's a plank piece of wood, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. What do you want to be? So I get the whole, like, just allow it to flow and come to you and get into the space. For me, music often helps with that. So I will crank up the headphones because people in my house might be like, ah. So I love that you address that, because I think it's true for a lot of creators, artists, multi-passionates. Like, we have to have that space. Like, I literally I live in this space that I'm in right now 24/7. Yeah. I need that. But I think it took a long time to get there, to even honor for the creativity, for the healing, for the rituals, for whatever it is that we need in our day-to-day. Because I think, and I love that I have you here, because I think there's this misconception, we have to hustle. I don't hustle, ever. I don't get up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning unless my body is like, okay, you're awake. That's like the only time that would happen. I sleep until there's coffee in my face. And then I go about my day, but I also stop when I'm done. Yeah. Like, I don't push through. Like, if my body's like, girl, you need to lie down. Yeah. I'm heading. Do you find that for you to be true as well?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's interesting because last year I ended up, it's kind of, I was moving in with a friend of mine because he was deploying, and he's like, my house is going to be sitting there empty. Like, just go stay there for free. And I was like, perfect. No, it wasn't, because it was his stuff, his furniture, his belongings, his home, right? And all my stuff went to storage. And I, you know, everybody was like, oh, what a great thing, you have free rent. But then obviously strings came attached with that. And all of a sudden I was just, my business dried up. And it took a few months of figuring like, okay, I got to find something else. And so I moved in with my boyfriend, and we were like, oh, this is going to be temporary. It's a 1-bedroom apartment, and I have a 9-year-old son. And I'm not a person who needs like a big sprawling home, or I'm not like, it's not like I need a bunch of stuff, but I realized that my space is fucking sacred. And so even like being in this space with them, like I had to find and adjust my schedule so that I could just be here by myself. And this like is part of our living room. This is like a wall, and I literally have like 5 feet by 3 feet here, but this is my space, right? And I like decorated it, and I put my stuff. So even though I'm in the living room, like I had to find my way to create my space that I could come home to, that I could leave my shit out and not feel like, oh, my shit's on the coffee table, I need to clean it up. Or, you know, it's like I needed to have that. And it's really cool because now his lease is coming up, and we're looking at other spaces, and I'm excited to kind of like you're like your den, right? You're like, this is where I go. I'm excited to have that again because it's been a while and it's so important.
Yeah, when I got this space, I was like, oh my God, it's such a big room. And then I'm like, oh, but it's my space. Like, literally, my family doesn't come and hang out in here ever. Because of the way my house is set up, I currently sleep in here because it's cold. Like, all the heaters are on me. But I have a futon where I get to chill, and I have my workspace, and I have my creative space. everything's just here, but it's also very picturesque,
Yeah.
which, my entire personality is in this space. And that to me is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can be too much for some people. And so that might be too much in the living room.
Yeah. No,
Right?
like I could go live in a studio apartment by myself and be just fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't need a ton of space, but what I've realized is that I do need my own space.
Absolutely. And I think this is true. And for a lot of creatives and multi-passionate, and I don't think we acknowledge that or even give ourselves permission to do that. Because now if we do that, we're becoming selfish and we're becoming all these other, things. And it's like, no, some people, I think also the trauma, the empath like you and me, the intuitive ones, like that have that extra stuff that we do. We just need to be able to collect ourselves, and picking up other people's energy is freaking exhausting if you don't take care of yourself.
Yeah, it's really too, like, and for me, like a lesson in honoring and like loving myself. Like, I know that sounds really like, oh, a little bit extreme, but for me, like giving myself permission to be like, yeah, I do need this space. And there are times when like, I can't be on, like, I just can't be like, hey, what do you guys want for dinner? Like I'm literally, like, I don't care what you eat. Like
I did that last night. And I know, here's the thing, I meal plan for the week because I tend to cook 5 days out of the week. But last night I was like, I don't feel like cooking. Y'all just help yourself. Because I think there's a misconception that we have to be on all the time. And it's just not how the world works. I don't care who you are.
And I feel like it's a gift for those around us. Like my son now at 9 years old knows how to come to me and say like, Mom, I just need some quiet time. And he has like, not permission. I don't need to give him permission, but he has full like availability to go in the room and shut the door. We only have one bedroom, but like if he needs it and he needs to go in there and shut the door, like I honor that.
I absolutely love that too, because even my son, I love him. He's like the best because he has that similar self-awareness. I always had that. Like, but he doesn't clean his room every day, and I don't make it a requirement per se. Like every now and again, I'm like, hey, you might want to sweep or whatever, because teenager. But when I don't push him, and he'll be like, hey, Mom, I'm cleaning my room because I need to clear the energy, and I'm like, who are you? Because I like you, but because we don't acknowledge that dirt and clutter and messes. Like my stuff is pretty chaotic right now, where I'm like, oh, I need to do this before I can even sit down and create. True for you as well?
Yeah, there's a total shift because when I was in like the depths of like depression, I was messy, but my mind was messy. Like, and then I found that when I really get in that space, like when I have money rolling in and clients coming to me and I feel good, it's similar. It's like, ooh, this is getting a little bit, let me just tidy this up, but not out of guilt or, somebody's coming over or anything like that. It's just because my mind and my heart are clear. And that's the thing too, I think with like diet, when people try to get like, oh, I should be working out or I should be eating this. And that doesn't do you any good. Like follow what your body needs and like then it all like lines up. And then you go, oh, I think I need a little bit more sleep tonight because I'm feeling off or whatever. Or I want to get up early because I'm feeling like I want to,
Yeah.
Like,
it's so true because I facilitate workshops on better living and for people who have like chronic pain and chronic diseases and stuff like that. And we go through the eating stuff, right? And I have a specific way of eating that works for me. Totally. And it's intermittent fasting. I eat once or twice a day. That's it.
Yeah.
It works for me. I tried this whole breakfast thing. I can't do it because it's gross.
Yeah.
But one of the things, and I get that from a nutrition. I'm not an expert or anything, but some people need breakfast for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Good for you, but please don't tell me that I need to have breakfast when I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Right. Take the time instead of trying to find like the all these diets and like, shifting your life around something that you don't even like or something, and depriving yourself. It's like, no, just listen, just freaking take the time to go, okay, like I'm needing more water now. Not, well, I'm supposed to drink X amount of water a day. And if I don't, I'm going to feel like a really guilty person. Fuck that. Like, no, like show up and get what it needs. And you'll like slowly, like I was feeling really guilty about drinking soda for a long time. And I don't have anything like for or against. I'm not here to like shame anybody, but for me, I was feeling icky about it. And so I was like, well, let me just play with this. Like, let me just tried to I'm craving that, swap it for this. And it was fun. Like, it was a cool little thing to figure out, like, oh yeah, I am noticing that when I drink that, I feel like more emotional or whatever, right? Versus, oh, there's sugar, I shouldn't be having that, you know?
So how important is self-awareness in the scheme of everything?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the thing, right?
right? Like, this is literally, the more
Like,
self-aware you are, the better you can take care of yourself.
yes.
Right?
And then you can approach life as more of a witness and less of a judge, because you can actually be more aware of like who you are and what you need. And then you're not projecting your bullshit as much. Not to say that I don't ever do it, but like as much, I can catch myself, you know, or
Yes.
I catch myself in it and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, totally. That's not your thing. That's mine, or whatever. And communicating my needs. So for example, self-awareness when it comes to working with somebody and me having better boundaries. Or if something's not going well with a client, right? And being able to like walk away from it without feeling guilty, or speak up and be like, hey, like, this isn't going to work because you're not paying me. Like, versus,
Right.
you know, like guilty and shitty and making all these stories about it. Like, that self-awareness piece allows you just to like show up with what is and be like, okay, what do I want to do with this?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. I want you to talk a little bit about what you do as far as advocacy for the military sexual trauma, because I think this is important. I don't know. I'm assuming some military people will watch this because I cater to the rebels, and I know there's a bunch of them in there. So talk about that a little bit before we end, because I think it is a truly important piece we need to be acknowledging.
Yeah. So I think for me, I experienced trauma outside of the military as well. And so when I got into the military, it was because I wanted structure. I wanted to be a part of this purpose. And I have just a service oriented heart. Like, I wanted to help people. And so when that ended up becoming not a safe place, it was really traumatizing for me. And the process when you are assaulted in the military can be very cold. It's very transactional and like, fill out this paperwork. Okay, you have PTSD. Here's your pills, you know, and it's you feel very alone in it.
Yeah.
And so I started to realize that like when I got out of the military, I started to be more brave about talking about it. And I actually didn't really mean to become an advocate. I wasn't like, I'm going to go help the people. And actually, there were times when I was asked to speak at events and I would be like in the bathroom puking beforehand. Because I would show up not knowing that there was going to be a lot of military people in the crowd or something, you know, and then I would get there and see all the uniforms and just be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be the poster fucking child for military sexual trauma, you know, like, but what I realized is that like, okay, the more that we speak up about these things, what mental health, all of it, right? Like the more empowering other people. And I'm speaking up for the women that couldn't speak up, and men, because it happens to men in the military.
Oh, absolutely.
And so like I'm speaking up for them. And so if I'm helping one of them to voice, you know, their hurt, then it's worth it. And then what I went through all of that bullshit. I went to the VA. I did all this stuff. I went through the system. So like, I'm going to make that shit worth it. Like, I'm going to show up and help people with that. And so it transitioned. And then what really helped was there would be women and men that would come up to me afterward and say, I haven't talked about it. This happened to me 20 years ago, or I totally know what you're talking about and nobody believes me, or whatever it is. Right. And I was, okay. So there was part of the advocacy that became also healing for me, because I was able to go up and speak. That felt like I'm turning this into something valuable, but then also I'm not alone either. And these people aren't alone, you know? And so it kind of came full circle. And now I regularly speak about it and, host women events for us to get together and do things, go to the, like we did a day recently where we went to the range and fired weapons and just, you know, that was fun. And then we have a spa day coming up. So it's like just getting together. And then I host retreats regularly. And the cool thing about the retreats is that I bring in different practitioners just to introduce alternative healing modalities, because they go to the VA and they're like told to just talk about what happened to them and they give pills. And so I bring them and I say, hey, this is somebody that does Reiki, or this person will sit and like get down to the energy and the root of like what's really happening for you. And some of these women, like I said, haven't talked about it in like 20 years. And so it's deep and they just need a safe space.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know, well, I don't know if people know, but the suicide rate from veterans, specifically and military people, is really, really high. I mean, it's like stupid, crazy high. You add in trauma. I mean, let's take away, there's the war PTSD, which is one, right? And then you have the sexual trauma, and you have both at the same time. Holy crap, how the hell are you going to wake up tomorrow and smile?
It is hard, and it's a hard transition to go and live in that lifestyle and then to become a civilian. So you also have to like, who am I? What am I? What is my purpose thing
Yep.
going on? Because when you're overseas, even though it's like stuff is happening,
Yep.
you're part of something. You have a team, and you come back here, and you're just it's just a really lonely as a civilian sometimes.
Yeah, I have no way to relate to that. The only thing is I grew up institutionalized in a foster care system. So I'm like, okay, that kind, like, how do I human now? None of them done being.
Yeah.
So I always try to figure out how I can relate to something, just because it's just how I operate, so that I can understand other people. That's the empath in me, right? Like,
Oh,
I want to understand.
I think sometimes people don't know how to like when you bring up sexual assault or trauma and stuff, and if people haven't experienced it, they're just like, oh, I'm so sorry, and you're like, we don't have like,
Yeah,
don't be
don't don't do that.
yeah, and be like, wow, like that must have fucking sucked, like
Yeah.
whatever, like it helps, and it helps to remember that we're all connected, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I want you to tell people where they can find you, connect with you on all the socials.
Yeah. So it's Dajon Ferrel .com. That's like where like I'm living right now on the webs. And then manifestingunicorns.com is like all my work. So that's just like the place. It's funny because I've been getting these government contracts, and I have to tell them that that's where they can go to see my portfolio, and it kind of they don't know what to do with it, and it makes me laugh.
It makes me laugh. Just, oh my God, that's awesome.
And my old colonel's like, you should really update that and make it Dajon Ferrel. And I'm like, no, this is way better. I like this. So yeah, manifestingunicorns.com, and then Dajon Ferrel. That's all where I'm at. And so same thing with like Instagram and Facebook, Dajon Ferrel.
Cool. Any cool events you got coming up that you want to talk about? Share. If not, it's cool. Just figure it out.
I'm actually working a podcast myself. And one of the things, I'm not like self-promoting. This is mainly because
no, go ahead. Like, I don't care. Like, I do what I want.
It's like, I realized that, okay, so in the advocacy scene, I've also been, like, my image has been placed on flyers and things, because I'm speaking at an event, or I'm on this cover of this thing for this women veteran. And I was getting a really hard time from women vets saying, you are too feminine, and you're over sexualizing what a woman veteran is supposed to look like. And so I'm discussing this. I'm talking about this with people, about like, what the fuck does that mean? And how, are you saying you're a feminist, but yet I can't wear red lipstick, like shit like that. So that's my next kind of project. And then I'm speaking at some things, but they're all women veteran related. So if you have women veterans out there, if they go to my website, they'll see.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, no, I saw your post about the podcast, because I'm always told I'm too masculine, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I'm not feminine enough, apparently.
And I'm too feminine. What the fuck?
And I'm like, this is who I am. And literally, we have a running joke that I am the man in the house, because it's just because I am that personality. That's why the wolf is the spirit animal.
Yeah. I love it. And it's funny because when I was growing up, like I went to school for residential carpentry, and then like, and then I was in the military. So there's some people in my family, I'm masculine, but then to the veterans, I'm too feminine. So it's such an interesting dynamic how people relate to that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love what you're doing, and literally promote yourself on my stuff. I don't care. That's why we're doing this, because I want to promote you. That's the whole point. All right. Well, I want to respect your time and appreciate that you came on with me. There will be a blog post with all the stuff that they can link to you. And that's that. It's a wrap.
Thank you.